Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Lepri of Stokastic.com, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my DraftKings contenders for week number 10 of the 2022 NFL season. Inside today's video, I'll be discussing my top 8 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends for this week's DraftKings slate. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, make sure you hit that like button down below. It would help us out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. And if you have any comments, questions about any of these players, ask down below in the comment section. I love to talk to you guys down there. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 10 DraftKings contenders. We begin at the quarterback position with quarterback number 8, Derek Carr of the Las Vegas Raiders, going up against the Indianapolis Colts at home in Vegas, priced at $5,600 on DraftKings this week at 7. We have Kyler Murray of the Cardinals going up against the Rams in LA, $7,200. At 6, we have Matthew Stafford of the Rams going up against the Cardinals, $5,600. Now, it is important to note that Matthew Stafford is currently in the concussion protocol, so his availability on Sunday right now is up in the air. Obviously, if he does not end up playing, you don't want to be paying Matthew Stafford, and you also might not want to play Cooper Kupp, for instance, who we are going to be talking about at the wide receiver position a little bit later. So at number 5, where the true breakdown begins, we have Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes of the New York Football Giants, going up against the Houston Texans this week at home in MetLife, priced at $5,700. Right now, our Stokastic projections have been projected for 19.6 fantasy points in this matchup up against a atrocious Houston Texans defense. The Giants have an implied point total of 23.5 in this matchup, ranking 9th in the NFL on the week, and they are favored by 6.5 points. We also have him projected to be 8.2% optimal, and he has a 8.7 boom percentage in this spot. The most interesting thing to discuss about Daniel Jones is if you want to run him naked or run him in a stack, because their wide receiver core in New York is far from optimal. It's very hard to decipher which wide receiver or which multiple wide receivers you want to stack with Daniel Jones, but ultimately, this matchup is super enticing because the Texans defense is just so bad that it makes perfect sense why we have him ranked as the quarterback number 5 on the week. At number 4, we have Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins going up against the Cleveland Browns at home in Miami, priced at $6,700 on the week. And right now we have him projected for 22.3 fantasy points. The Dolphins have an implied point total of 26.25, tied with the 49ers for the 3rd highest total in the NFL on the week, and they are currently favored by 4 points with a 9.2 optimal percentage for Tua and a 10.8 boom percentage for Tua Tagovailoa. Now, with so many weapons around Tua Tagovailoa, it should be a shock to absolutely no one that this guy has been dominant in fantasy football for DFS. The Browns defense this week, it's definitely not a shoo-in that Tua Tagovailoa absolutely drops the hammer on this defense, but it's not like the Browns are one of the hardest defenses to go against in the NFL. Tua Tagovailoa has continued to impress game in and game out, and it wouldn't surprise me if at the end of the week he was the number 1 quarterback if Jacoby Brissett and the Cleveland Browns are able to push the agenda and keep this being a very close, high-scoring game. At number 3, we have Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears going up against the Detroit Lions in Chicago, $6,500. Now, Justin Fields is coming off of an absolute monster game up against the Miami Dolphins, where he carved that defense up like it was the Thanksgiving turkey. We have him projected right now for 23.8 fantasy points up against a putrid Lions defense. We talked about how bad the Texans defense is. The Detroit Lions defense might be even worse. The Bears have a 25.75 implied point total on the week, which ranks 5th. They're favored by 3 points up against the Lions, who are coming off a win up against the Packers. 15.6 optimal percentage for Justin Fields, 15.8 boom percentage for Justin Fields. Like I said, Justin Fields is coming off of an absolute heater of a game, and a lot of people, we were kind of just talking about Daniel Jones, the thought process of, oh, do you want to run him naked? Do you want to run him in a stack? All of last week, a lot of people talking about how, oh, Justin Fields, you play him naked. In reality, Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet were the other pieces that you needed in that stack this week up against the Lions. Would it surprise me if Justin Fields got there yet again? And I know the Lions defense looked good last week, but in reality, Aaron Jones just looked bad. I don't really think, or not Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers looked bad. I don't really think that means that the Lions defense is magically good. At number 2, we have Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills going up against the Minnesota Vikings, 8,600. Now, Josh Allen's availability is truly up in the air. If I was the Buffalo Bills, I would probably think, you know what? Let's be smart. Let's sit Josh Allen down for the next couple of games. And then for the playoffs, Josh Allen's going to be fully healthy. Sure, they might not be able to get the bye with Case Keenum under center, but it is what it is, right? You make the playoffs, and then from there on out, anything could happen. You can win the Super Bowl, right? So who knows what they're actually going to do. Right now, I would tell you that I think Case Keenum's going to be the quarterback, but I'm still not sure. Right now, we have Josh Allen projected for 24.8 fantasy points, and the Bills have an implied point total of 25.5, sixth highest in the league this week, favored by 5.5 points, 6 optimal percentage for Josh Allen, and a 6.6 boom percentage for Josh Allen. The Minnesota Vikings are currently running hot both offensively and defensively. This matchup would be not necessarily the hardest for Josh Allen, but again, since I'm not too sure if he's even going to end up playing, I don't want to sit here and waste your guys' time doing a 3-minute analyzation of Josh Allen. He looked ass against the Jets last week, but the Jets defense is really just that good that if he does play, which I think he could still have a great performance, a bounce back spot against the Vikings. If he doesn't play, it's a Case Keenum revenge game. At number 1 at the quarterback position, we have Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, priced at 7,800. We currently have him projected for 26.1 fantasy points in this spot. The Chiefs have an implied point total of 30, the same amount of implied points that the Buffalo Bills had last week when they shit the bed against the Jets. First in the NFL in the week, favored by 9.5 points, 11.8 optimal percentage, 14.3 boom percentage. The Jaguars defense has been a roller coaster all year long. We see games where it's like, oh, the Jacksonville Jaguars are back, and then there's other games where they look abysmally bad. The Kansas City Chiefs offense is the offense, in my opinion, in the NFL. They're the best offense in the National Football League. The issue here is if they get up on the Jaguars early, what's going to happen later in the game? Are they really going to just throw the ball a million times like the Bills would, or are they going to run with CH, Pacheco, and McKinnon? We shall see. That's up to interpretation. I do think, though, the Jaguars can keep things close by running the ball at an incredibly high clip. Next up, we move to the running back position. At number 8, we have 9-inch Nicholas Chubb of the Cleveland Browns going up against the Miami Dolphins in Miami, 8,100. Aaron Jones of the Green Bay Packers going up against the Cowboys, 7,200. Aaron Jones, his availability is also up in the air at 6. We have Travis Etienne Jr. of the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City, 7,100. The real breakdown again begins at 5 with Dameon Pierce of the Houston Texans going up against the New York Football Giants in MetLife, 6,300. In this game, this might just be a straight off runoff. Both teams running the ball at an incredibly high clip. Dameon Pierce is the guy in this offense. Brandon Cooks doesn't want to be there. I don't even think Brandon Cooks is going to end up playing. The Giants defense has been so-so. This could be a huge spot for Dameon Pierce to get fed, and our projections love Mr. Dameon Pierce this week. 17.7 fantasy points projected, 23.80 optimal percentage for Dameon Pierce. If Dameon Pierce gets a lot of ownership, I'm still eating that chalk on Dameon Pierce, and I even like going Dameon Pierce and Saquon Barkley on the same exact DFS team. The Texans have an implied point total of 25, which is awful, 25th in the NFL. They're underdogs by 6.5 points. He has a boom percentage of 14.3%, but I'm still rocking with him. I'm still rocking with Dameon Pierce. He is the focal point in this offense, and even if they get down, they're going to look to run the rock mightily with Dameon Pierce, who looked good up against a stout Eagles defense. At number 4, we have Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh, $7,400 for Alvin Kamara. Currently, as I'm recording today's video, there is no line on the Steelers-Saints game. So maybe the books are nervous because who knows if Jameis is going to play or not. I would assume that's what the weight is on, right? What else would it be? So he's projected for 18.1 fantasy points, 15.2 optimal percentage, 9.7 boom percentage. I will note that personally, I feel a lot more confident in Alvin Kamara with Andy Dalton under center compared to Jameis. That doesn't mean that I think that Andy Dalton's better than Jameis. He's not. Jameis probably would have at least kept them in that Ravens game, but Jameis is not as likely to dump the ball off at an incredibly high clip like the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton is. At number 3, we move to Josh Jacobs of the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Indianapolis Colts, currently priced at $7,600. But before we break down Mr. Jacobs, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor. They've been on my hat. I know my hat's backwards. BetMGM. They are the sponsor of today's video, and they're offering you guys a BetMGM risk-free bet of up to $1,000. And when you place that, you receive 2 months of Stokastic Platinum for free. All you have to do is deposit at least $10 as a new user on BetMGM. Clicking the link in the video description down below. Once your bet gets paid out, then you will receive your 2 months of Stokastic Platinum for free. Make sure you guys do check that out before the offer expires. Next up, we move back on into things with the Las Vegas Raiders running back Josh Jacobs. Now, over the last couple of weeks, Josh Jacobs' fantasy superstardom has kind of started to crumble down. Josh Jacobs was on a hot fire streak. He's like running back 1, 3, and 3, and then recently he's kind of been taking a nap when you play him in DFS. $7,600 this week up against the Colts. We have him projected for 20.6 fantasy points. The Raiders have an implied point total of 24.5, 7th highest in the NFL this week. They're favored by 6.5 points. 21 optimal percentage for Jacobs, 17.5 boom percentage. Now, the Raiders are the kings of choking games. It seems like every single game they're up, and then ultimately they end up losing, just like last week. But the Colts are just a whole different breed of sucking ass. The Colts are so bad that this is the spot where Josh Jacobs hops back on the saddle and is the guy. I know he's had a couple down games in a row. People might be nervous to play him, but I'm not nervous. I love him. Up against the Colts at number 2, we got Saquon Barkley, who we talked about a little bit earlier. Going up against the Houston Texans, $8,600. We got him projected for 22.1 fantasy points. The Giants have the 9th highest implied point total, favored by 6.5 in this game, 17.4 optimal percentage, 14.3 boom percentage. The Houston Texans, right now, when you look at DVOA, are the worst defense in the National Football League up against the run. We have seen for weeks these running backs run absolute train on the Houston Texans. Should be able to take advantage of that, and that's why DraftKings has him priced at $8,600. Number 1 running back on the week, $8,300. Derrick Henry, Tennessee Titans running back, going up against the Denver Broncos. 22.9 optimal percentage, 16.9 boom percentage. We have projected for 22.4 fantasy points. They're only favored by 3 up against the Denver Broncos with a 21 implied point total, 15th in the NFL. Now, I will be honest with you guys, I'm a little bit nervous about Derrick Henry. Now, again, I know he projects well. He's got a great optimal percentage, but this Denver Broncos defense is no joke. And that's what has me nervous. But at the same time, in the back of my head, you know, the devil and the angel on the shoulder, the devil's like, oh, Nick, the Broncos defense is super good. But the angel is like, we just saw Travis Etienne play amazing against this Broncos defense in London. And I also, the angel's also saying, Nick, he's Derrick Henry. And just the fact that he's Derrick Henry is why you pay up the big bucks, right, against the Denver Broncos. So I will make it important to note that I am a little bit nervous about this spot. But Derrick Henry is just so talented that I get why we haven't projected at number 1. Next up, we move to the wide receiver position. At number 8, we have CeeDee Lamb of the Cowboys going up against the Packers, 7,000 in Lambeau. At 7, we have Jalen Waddle of the Miami Dolphins going up against the Browns, 7,600. Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions going up against the Chicago Bears, 6,900. At 5, we have Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, 8,800. Now, Justin Jefferson was on a bit of a touchdown drought until last week up against the Commanders. Little Kirk Cousins, Perk Cousins, whatever you want to call him, doing his fucking put that shit on Antonio Brown dance with all the chains on. Awesome to watch. It's so funny because Kirk Cousins, he's just amazing looking like that. I love Kirk Cousins, but this is a day game, not a night game. So we all know, the Vikings love these 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff games. Projected for 18.8 fantasy points. The Vikings have a 20 implied point total, 20th on the week. Vikings are 5.5 point dogs, 8.3 optimal percentage, 7.6 boom percentage. This spread, I feel like, is going to continue to move as it seems more and more likely that Josh Allen doesn't play or that he does play, because the spread will move either way. This matchup against the Bills isn't amazing for Justin Jefferson, though the Bills are pretty banged up defensively. Personally, based upon our projections of all the players ranked ahead of him that we're going to talk about, I feel like his price tag of 8,800 is personally a little too steep on the week. At number 4, we have Davante Adams of the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Indianapolis Colts, priced at 8,700, and we currently have him projected for 18.9 fantasy points. The Raiders have a 24.5 implied point total, 7th in the NFL, 6.5 point favorites, 8.2 optimal percentage, 9 boom percentage. Now, this Raiders team has been crazy all season long. It's so weird to see, like I was talking about earlier, these games where the Raiders should easily be winning and they just choke it away. And it's like, how much blame can you put on McDaniels? How much blame can you put on Derek Carr? It's crazy. It's like a frenzy over there. Davante Adams is so talented that I don't think that all this crazy stuff happening around him is too concerning. But it is kind of concerning when you watch last week's game, you see Davante Adams go nuclear in the first half, and then in the second half, the guy's snoozing like he's Snorlax. The Colts defense really isn't all that great. So I do feel confident in playing Adams, but the whole situation around him does make me a little nervous. At number 3, we have Stefon Diggs of the Bills going up against the Vikings, 8,300. To be honest with you, I'm fine paying up for Diggs, even if we don't see Josh Allen play, because, we still have that connection. It's a revenge game, double revenge game, actually, because it's Case Keenum and Stefon Diggs versus the Minnesota Vikings. So I think that will scare a lot of people away if Josh Allen doesn't play, which makes me even more comfortable playing Diggs because people won't have as high of ownership on Stefon Diggs. 20.4 projected fantasy points. The Bills have the 6th highest projected point total, favored by 5.5 points. But again, that thing could move drastically by Sunday. 14.4 optimal percentage, 13.7 boom percentage. I actually think Case Keenum is one of the better backups in the NFL. Like, I actually trust Stefon Diggs with Case Keenum. There are some backup quarterbacks in the NFL that I wouldn't trust worth anything. So I'm glad that Diggs at least has a backup quarterback that I'm confident in. Thus why I understand his 3 ranking. At number 2, we have Tyreek the Freak Hill of the Miami Dolphins going up against the Cleveland Browns, $9,100 on DraftKings, projected for 23.6 fantasy points. The Dolphins have an implied point total of 26.25, tied with the San Francisco 49ers for 3rd highest in the NFL, favored by 4 points, 15.3 optimal percentage, 19.4 boom percentage. Again, the matchup against the Browns isn't mouth-watering, but it is decent. Tyreek Hill is making even the best defenses look incompetent. The speed is just too strong. He's on pace to beat Megatron Calvin Johnson's single-season receiving record. What more is there to say about Tyreek Hill? He's fucking amazing. If the MVP of the NFL wasn't a quarterback award, I honestly think he should win. At number 1, we have Cooper Kupp of the LA Rams going up against the Arizona Cardinals, 9,000. My opinion on Cooper Kupp could drastically change if Stafford is out, because their backup quarterback is not so good, whereas at least with Diggs as backup quarterback, I feel comfortable playing him. Cooper Kupp projected for 25 fantasy points. The Rams have an implied point total of 23.25, ranking 11th, 21.80 optimal percentage, 23.1 boom percentage. Now, always it's Cooper Kupp, right? So he's going to be just fine if you're playing regular fantasy football. But when you have to pony up $9,000 if Stafford doesn't play, that's a clear fade, in my opinion. Now we move to the final position of today's video, the tight end position at number 8 with Foster Moreau of the Raiders going up against the Colts, 3,200. Our projections right now are assuming that Darren Waller misses yet again. 7, we have Dulcich of the Denver Broncos going up against the Les Titans in Tennessee, 3,400. Dulcich is on a bit of a hot streak ever since activated for the Broncos. 6, Zach Ertz of the Cardinals going up against the LA Rams, 5,200. The pricing at tight end this week is hilarious because at number 1, just going to spoil it, Travis Kelce is 7,800. Then we have guys priced at 3,200, 5,000. It's just funny because Travis Kelce is just so by far and away the safest tight end, which is why they have him priced so high, because the upside is also just immense. Njoku is expected to return this week at number 5, 4,100 up against the Dolphins in Miami. Projected for 10 fantasy points. They're 4-point dogs in this matchup. 14th highest implied point total in the NFL, 11.6 optimal percentage, 9.2 boom percentage. Jacoby Brissett proved that he liked to throw the ball to David Njoku. Now, when Njoku was out, everyone was kind of clamoring, ooh, Harrison Bryant, and then Harrison Bryant didn't do shit, so it's clear that Brissett likes Njoku. The question is, will Njoku actually play on Sunday? At number 4, we have Pat Freiermuth of the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the New Orleans Saints at home in Pittsburgh, 4,200. Again, no spread on this game currently. 8.8 optimal percentage, 7.9 boom percentage, 10.1 fantasy point projection. When healthy, Pat Freiermuth is a key piece in this offense with Kenny Pickett under center. Chase Claypool now in Chicago, giving even more opportunity for Freiermuth. I think this game could sneaky be a shootout if Famous Jameis plays, so I like this spot a ton for Freiermuth. At 3, we have TJ Hawkinson of the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, 5,300. Last week, despite him being traded on Tuesday, playing on Sunday, Hawkinson had a great first game with the Minnesota Vikings up against the Commanders. We have him projected for 10.5 fantasy points in this spot. The Vikings have an implied point total of 20th in the NFL, 5.5 point dogs, 4.8 optimal percentage, 3.2 boom percentage. Again, this game, it really could go so many different ways because of if Josh Allen plays or not. I still think this game's going to be competitive, even with Keenum under center, so I still like Hawkinson. But if Josh Allen is in, obviously the pass heavy narrative is going to be there if Josh Allen ends up suiting up, which again we don't know right now. At 2, we have Tyler Higbee, $3,600 against the Arizona Cardinals. I'm just going to be keeping a buck with you guys. I don't trust Tyler Higbee at all. I get why we have him ranked so high, though. 11.5 fantasy points projected, 17.9 optimal percentage, 18 boom percentage. The Cardinals are not very good against the tight end, and Tyler Higbee was incredible a couple of weeks ago. But recently, he's been getting less targets, and the Stafford situation seems to be getting worse, not better. The offensive line's also bad. So I get why we have him ranked where we do because of what happened early on in the season, but recently, Higbee's been putting up duds. Final tight end to discuss here, Travis Kelce. You would have guessed that. Who could have guessed that, right? Number 1 tight end, Travis Kelce of the Chiefs going up against the Jaguars, $7,800. Projected for 19.6 fantasy points. The Chiefs have an implied point total of 30, favored by 9.5 points, 11.9 optimal percentage, 20.1 boom percentage. Obviously, if you want to pony up the big bucks, $7,800 for Travis Kelce. He's going to perform. This is a great matchup up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you ended up enjoying, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, as well as that like button. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. Make sure you check out that risk-free bet of up to $1,000 on BetMGM and get your 2 free months of Stokastic plus Platinum. I love you guys all so much. Hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. Let me know down below in the comment section if you have any questions about this stuff. I love to talk to you guys down there. And if you have any comments like, oh, Nick, I think you should have talked about this, something like that. If you have any type of suggestion, I'd love to hear it. I love you guys all. Thank you guys for watching. Goodbye.